Episode 13, Ride or Die. I'm back at the house. Anna is just getting out of the shower. She prefers the bathroom on the first floor, the one that is connected to the opulent honeymoon suite, complete with an in-room hot tub and private fireplace. She says this shower has the best water pressure in the house. Anna is standing in front of the hers side of the his and her double vanity. She has a towel wrapped around her body so tightly that it looks more like a soggy cocktail dress. It clings in all of the right places, and I have a difficult time focusing. Her skin is glistening. It always looks like this after she gets out of the shower, because the first thing she does, even before drying off, is rubs a healthy handful of moisturizing cream over her all-natural self. Cucumber and melon. It's the only scent she'll use. It makes her smell like a spa. I've grown to love it. She wipes the condensation away from the mirror with the palm of her hand. That's when she sees me. I'm sneaking up from behind, but my cover has been blown. I don't retreat, though. The mission is still a go. I wrap my arms around her. Her fresh out of the shower warmth surges through me, charging my soul in a way that makes it feel complete. Todd? She asks. I'm puzzled by the name. And not just because it's not my name. Todd feels like nobody's name, like a name that should never be given. Todd! Anna shouts, her smiling face becoming fearful. Something is wrong. The heat coming off of her is no longer comforting and familiar. It's painful to embrace her. Anna's temperature is rising. Her glistening skin dries out. Blisters break out over the surface of her body. They rupture pus and reek of decay. Her flesh peels back and flakes away. I scream out to her, calling her name, Anna! But before my beloved can respond, she bursts into a cloud of suffocating ash. I stumble backwards. My face is no longer mine in the mirror. I mean, it is. You would recognize me as me, but I am no longer the happy person I once was. Grief lines cover me like a mask, one that looks out at the world through eye holes of a permanent purgatory. I look away from the mirror. There is now an urn resting on the spot where Anna was just standing. I recognize it. I don't want to, but I do. I kneel down to pick the urn up. It is cold to the touch. Frost forms on the mirror. Goosebumps occupy my flesh. I try to resist the urge to open the urn, but I can't. I need to. My fingers become frostbitten as I take the lid in my hand and slide it aside. I hear something coming from inside the urn. I lean my ear in closer. Maya. My eyes open. I'm in my bed with nothing but dinosaur boxers covering me. The sheet has been kicked to the foot of the mattress. It's crumpled in an unrecognizable ball. The comforter is lying on the floor, comforting the carpet instead of me. My pillow is moist against my cheek. I've been drooling again. Just a dream, I assure myself, though the unconscious visual I just experienced is no less haunting. I've always hated nightmares. As a kid, my mother would hang dream catchers all around my bedroom to snatch up the really bad ones. It never worked, which I guess is why I didn't carry the tradition into adulthood. These days, I just try to keep the nightmares at bay by avoiding sleep altogether. I sit up and look at the digital alarm clock partially covered by empty snack pack bags. When I got home from the sinister seance, I stayed awake until the sun came up, nervously waiting for the spagoid to slip in through the shadows and swallow my soul. It never happened. I did, however, swallow my share of potato chips. I push the empty bags to the floor where the itty-bitty crumbs fall away and blanket my comforter. The clock reads 9:21. That can't be right. I couldn't have fallen asleep until at least 7:30 in the morning, and I feel far too rested to have only been out cold for a mere 2 hours. I hurl myself out of bed and put myself into motion. I follow the momentum to the window, pulling the shade aside. It's night. The darkness catches me by surprise. I slept the entire day, I announced to the empty room. I should feel pretty accomplished having stayed alive a full 18 hours since fleeing Violet's mansion, but the night makes me uneasy. If anyone was going to come and forcefully chaperone me to the other side, I've seen enough horror movies to know they'd do it when it was dark. I can't sit here until sunup again, waiting to have my soul extracted from my body like a pistachio from its shell. Besides, I'm all out of potato chips. I bend down and pluck a piece of folded hot pink paper from the floor. I carry it back to my bed, tripping on the genie pants as they tangle around my feet. The bells jingle, startling me. I need to get out of this house. Sitting onto the mattress, I unfold the piece of paper. It's the flyer for the Jensen Jasper show I pocketed a few days ago. When I originally took the flyer, the show was upcoming, but in the present, it's forthcoming. She is scheduled to take the stage at the Musky Moose beginning at 10:30 p.m. That gives me just enough time to make it downtown, find my favorite stool with the most perfect view, and build a solid whiskey buzz before she starts into her first song. I cover the sauropods on my skivvies with a pair of dark brown workwear pants and slip into a t-shirt I was gifted from my favorite taco truck while dining there on my birthday. It still smells like fresh cilantro. Every time I wear it, I get hungry. Thankfully, the kitchen at the Musky Moose doesn't close until midnight. It takes me 10 minutes to clear the furniture away from the front door. I shoved it there when I got home from the seance as an additional layer of protection. It clearly wouldn't have stopped the spagoi, but I'm pretty sure Todd's goons would have struggled with the armoire. 20 minutes later, I'm pulling my car into a parking spot about a block away from the Musky Moose. I climb out and make a beeline for the bar's front door, rubbing Barney the bear's paw as I enter. Barney is a bit of a local legend around these parts, believed to be nearly as old as the town itself. He stood outside of a general store for decades, until the Moose folks bought him and propped him up out here to greet guests. Tourists have been snapping pictures with him and rubbing his paw for luck ever since. You don't happen to have the same taxidermist as the Animals in Violets collection, do you? I quietly ask Barney. As expected, the bear doesn't respond. I imagine I'll have better luck at an answer after a whiskey or two. The first thing you notice about the Musky Moose is the smell. You would think, given its name, you'd catch a strong whiff of musk, but that's not the case at all. They have a brick oven in the kitchen, so you're hit immediately with the scent of burning cherry oak. It's sweet and inviting, and given how many prosciutto and fig flatbreads they churn out every hour, there is also a hint of savory in the air. In addition, the bar has the biggest selection of micro-distillery whiskeys and bourbons in the entire state, so that burnt barrel bouquet that each batch was birthed into pairs nicely with what the oven is giving off. The second thing you notice about the place are the sights. While the scents lure you in peacefully, the decor slaps you in the face and then, for good measure, kicks you while you're down. Big and small game trophy heads adorn the walls, only they have all been garishly gussied up. There is a buck with a jumbo of antlers wrapped in shiny green paper and decorated with hand-blown Christmas decorations, which you can actually special order from Artie the Artisan 2 doors down. Anna and I bought a set from Artie during our official first Christmas as a married couple. I still have them. My favorite, though, is the rabbit stuffed and fitted to look like the mythical jackalope. They call her Janice, and she has become a good luck charm for those young and lonely singles venturing out into the night on the prowl. Legend has it that if you scratch under her chin just before last call, you'll be lucky in love. At least for that one night. The Musky Moose's massive bar stretches the entire length of the establishment. The dark mahogany finish matches the planks that make up the floors and walls, so from head to toe it's as rustic as a mountain dive can get without attracting every IPA-loving hipster within a 100-mile radius. Behind the bar, hanging prominently on the wall, is a replica of the Old Man of the Mountain, carved from a tree stump. For those unfamiliar with this New Hampshire icon, the Old Man was a rock formation that looked a bit like Abraham Lincoln's profile. It jetted off the side of Cannon Mountain, and people came from all over to look up at it and say, "Yup, it really does look like a dude." It was so popular we went and put it on our license plates. Unfortunately, the Old Man died on May 3, 2003, when it broke away and crumbled to the ground below. His legend lives on at the Musky Moose, however. About 10 feet away from the carving of the Old Man is a framed dollar bill, which has been hanging there since the bar first opened. My favorite stool is directly in front of it. It's currently unoccupied, so I quickly swoop in and have a seat. Fun fact, that dollar once belonged to me. The Musky Moose is where Anna and I had our first date. She chose it because it was new on the scene and neither of us had been. She ordered the maple glazed salmon with roasted Parmesan-crusted asparagus. I remember it exactly because she made a comment about how the asparagus was going to give her stinky-smelling pee. I thought that was a bold first date declaration. I'm pretty sure I fell in love with her at that very moment. Coming here, staring at that tendered bill, it helps me plug into the past. On a night like tonight, with my present putting my future into question, the past feels like all I have left. I order a whiskey I've never heard of and sink into my stool. Only sad and somber thoughts will be on the menu tonight. Old-fashioned, a familiar voice instructs the bartender just as he finishes pouring mine. Mind if I have a seat? I look up at Madame Bakita, dressed down from how I normally see her. She's wearing a pair of dark jeans and a sleek fitted leather jacket, which covers most of the simple white tank top underneath. Did you come here to kill me? I ask, genuinely curious of the answer to come. Madame Bakita pulls out the stool next to me and sits down just as the old-fashioned she ordered appears in front of her. As much as you want me to be, I'm not the enemy. She picks up the glass and pounds back half of its contents in one fluid motion. Paint me impressed. How did you know where I was? I ask. Madame Bakita brings the glass to her mouth and finishes up what remains of her drink. She signals to the bartender for another and then turns to me and frowns, disappointed with my lack of awareness. It hits me then. Right, I say. Psychic. She shakes her head and hits her second old-fashioned just as hard as the first. How you made it this far in life is beyond me. Browbeaten, I tip back my own beverage, hoping to keep up with the fortune teller. If your third eye is so all-seeing, what am I thinking right now? Madame Bakita reaches out her hand and grabs hold of my forearm. Her touch is chilled from her ice-filled glass. She closes her eyes and travels into my mind. I feel nothing, but I know she's there. After a few seconds, she lets go of me and wraps her hand back around the glass. Surprisingly, she begins, you're thinking that you're sorry for getting me wrapped up in all this. I pound what's left of my drink and shift uncomfortably on my stool, the leather upholstery squeaking like Germain in a downpour. Well, I am, I concede. I didn't want any of this. I never asked to be a goddamn soul chaperone. Madame Bakita signals to the bartender to refill my glass. It happens so fast that I don't have time to protest. Yup, Barney will be speaking tonight. Behind us, a waiter with a curly mustache who is doubling as the Musky Moose's sound technician steps onto the tiny stage and fixes a microphone in its stand. We don't always choose our path, Madame Bakita says, staring off into the wall of mountain-themed tchotchkes that clutter up the backside of the bar. Doesn't mean it's not the path we were meant to travel, however. I smirk. I can't help it. That's some grade A fortune teller bullshit right there. Madame Bakita's reaction is subtle. Sure, horse rattleshack. My insults rarely hit the mark with her, but tonight in particular, they fall away like water off the back of a particularly detached duck. I decide to dial it down a few notches. So, how worried should I be about what I stepped in? I ask. She finishes her second drink and requests a third. Well, given that you left your item of personal significance with the enemy, I'd say you're in the shit up to your tit. I immediately reach up for the necklace. It's not there. I took off so fast from Violet's mansion that I never thought to grab the ring. I'm such an idiot. Someone as powerful as Violet Brown can do all sorts of vile shit with an item like that, she continues. I tried to sneak it out, but she plucked it off the table as soon as you made a swan dive down the spiral staircase. She pauses. Nice, by the way. I choose not to linger on my wife's missing memento. I'll get it back or die trying, in which case, none of it matters. Then again, that may be just the whiskey talking. What does she want? I ask. She's using the spagor to find something, Madame Bakita says, before the creature consumed the spirit. Mel, I say firmly. She self-corrects without any pushback. Before the creature consumed Mel, Violet asked him about the thing she's looking for. None of it made any sense to me, but whatever it is, she's willing to disrupt the natural order of things to find it. I hear what Bakita is saying, but I can't get past Mel having to die a second tragic death all over again. Talk about a bad break. His soul suffered more than most could ever even imagine, and yet even after his prolonged passing, he was still a pretty chipper phantom. I take hold of my glass, bring it up to my lips and let the whiskey flow in. I swoosh it around inside my mouth for a few seconds before swallowing. It's dignified and well-defined. I submit into evidence, though I do so at the direction of no one. The flavors are impossible to ignore. It's rich with multiple layers, each of which is inviting. The smoke is present but not overpowering, though it is the relationship between the oak notes and the citrus kisses, a sort of zesty makeout session in your mouth, that makes each sip memorable. I set the glass down on the coaster. It sits there, sweating. What the hell was that? Madame Bakita asks. As a ghost, Mel missed all of the things he couldn't put in his belly anymore, I say, hoping that by talking about it, I'll feel better with how things turned out for the hippie. I used him as a supernatural source at times. He'd feed me information, but to get it, I had to fake feed him. So I'd describe how things tasted, and he'd imagine it was going into his mouth instead of mine. Madame Paquita nods. It was a good review of, frankly, pretty terrible whiskey. You may have missed your calling. I laugh. I told you I was on the wrong path. We sit in silence for a long spell, transitioning from one drink to the next, which starts to become too much for my body to sustain. The world gets a little fuzzy as the alcohol flows into the folds of my brain, flooding my reaction time and dulling my sense of impending doom. For a moment, I feel pretty damn good. Behind us, a baby blue guitar goes through a rigorous sound check at the hands of the waiter-turned-roadie, and from where I'm sitting, it checks out just fine. Do you believe in true love? Madame Paquita asks, breaking the sound check silence. I reach up for my necklace, once again reminded that I left my wedding band behind at the seance. I do. Then you must also believe in the authentic animus, she says. This is the concept that every person has one natural enemy who will defy them in this life or any other. They are the opposite of a soulmate. They are a soul foe. I go to open my mouth and a tiny hiccup escapes before my words can. The whiskey is now in the driver's seat. Okay, and? I believe Violet is your soul foe, she offers. I felt something when the two of you were in the room together, and I don't believe in coincidences. Colin wikis? It's the best I can do in my current state given how many syllables the word has. Madame Paquita ignores my drunkenness. You are a man of colors, Greg Green, and she, Violet Brown, is a woman of the same. Your paths, whether you believe you are meant to travel it or not, have always been destined to cross. Where they meet will end in ruin for one or both of you. As my brain chews on the fateful fat Madame Paquita has spoon-fed me, Jensen Jasper makes her way to the stage. She picks up her guitar, politely thanks everyone for coming out in a mouse-like chirp, and then dives headfirst into a rousing rendition of Piece of My Heart by Janis Joplin, which catches everyone, myself included, by surprise. I spin around on my stool to watch Jensen belt out the classic, and I'm amazed at how closely her voice and mannerisms match those of Janis, who died of a drug overdose in 1970. The same guy who claims to have chaperoned John Wayne also told me he worked with Janis, by the way. After the song comes to an end, Jensen slows it down a bit, performing the Cass Elliot version of Dream a Little Dream of Me, which again feels less like a cover and more like I'm actually listening to the deceased Mamas and the Papas singer. Her range and vocal versatility is crazy, I say, though it wasn't necessarily meant for Madame Paquita. I'm just impressed by what I'm hearing. Without skipping a beat, Madame Paquita says, "That's because she's a vessel," and then finishes another drink. What now? I say, my words slurring together like a bunch of letters dumped into a blender and set to liquefy. Madame Paquita speaks slowly for my benefit. What you're hearing is Janis. It is Mama Cass. Jensen Jasper is literally channeling those people from beyond, giving them the opportunity to perform again. In exchange, they give her a little extra oomph on her own songs. I sway on my stool, drifting side to side, befuddled by the revelation. Is everyone in this town tied to the supernatural? Jensen finishes Dream a Little Dream of Me. The crowd applauds in approval. No, I'd like to play an original if y'all don't mind. Jensen whispers into the microphone. Her confidence plummets when she stops singing. This one is called 3,000 Miles and Spare Change, and I wrote it for my girlfriend who currently lives out in Oregon. As Jensen begins to play her heart-wrenching original, I'm immediately drawn to the longing that she articulates in the lyrics and the emotion felt in her vocals. The song could just as easily be about Anna. Making that connection breaks my heart all over again. I turn to take in the framed dollar bill that, for me, signifies our first date, and I feel my eyes well up with tears. Madame Paquita sees this and swoops in to save me from a very public meltdown. Come on, she says, breaking my melancholy moment by ensuring that 2 fresh drinks are dropped down in front of us. Let's have a drink in honor of Mel. I wipe my eyes on my sleeve and take one of the glasses in hand. Why stop at 1? Thank you for listening. For more information, visit thesoulchaperone.com.